Welcome to week one of Introduction to Digital Humanities. My name is Dr. Chris Adamson, and I'll be your instructor for the course. I am so excited about this term, but I bet you're thinking with yourself, what's digital humanities? What's DH? What is this guy talking about? What have I got myself into? So let's look at that for a few different ways. One way to look at it is that digital humanities is the project-driven application of computational methodologies to humanities research. I know that's a mouthful. What does that mean? So that could mean that if I'm already in the humanities, let's say I'm in literature, my background is in literature, and I can say, hey, I know how to read a text. I have all these texts I look at, but I want to use computers to help me read them better and to recognize patterns better. Pattern recognition is at the heart of a lot of literature scholarship. And so I can use a tool like textual analysis with RStudio and say, I'm going to look for patterns with this. That's one way. That's the application of a computational method to traditional humanist research. But that's not the only way to do it. We can go the other way around and say that not only am I applying computational methods to humanist research, but that I'm applying humanist methods to computational tools, to digital tools. Here's what I mean by that. Where in the previous example, I'm saying, hey, I have a question, a research question. How can computers help me? I can turn that around and say, I have a humanities principle, like critical thinking. How do I apply that to the tools or the methodology? How can I refine the method? How can I look at the tool and say, what's going on here? What are ethical concerns? For example, I get the tool and I apply critical digital humanities to it. And I ask myself, this tool, if I use it, how does it affect who I am? How does it affect my relationship with others? What is the hidden labor that made this tool that I may be ignoring? Are people being exploited by the creation of this tool? So we have on one hand, we can say, I already do humanities research. I want to bring computational methods into that. Or we can say, I do humanities research and I want to bring those sort of principles or those humanities methods to bear on a tool at hand. But that's not really the full picture. That's two important sides of the coin. But there's another aspect of it because we could say, well, humanists have been using technology for quite a while. We've been using things like concordances, which is these texts that show where words show up in there. And in some ways, digital humanities is just updating that kind of analog tool. That could be true. Or we could say, look, we apply ethical reasoning to tools and tool theory already. How is digital humanities different from that? And what kind of emerges as we think about digital humanities as a field is that it's not just that it's application of computational methods to humanities projects or the application of humanities principles to digital tools. It's also this sort of self-selecting into a value system. Here's what I mean by that. Digital humanities tends to be characterized by three values that are represented in different ways. And when you get to week two's readings, you'll read directly about this. But the three values can be openness, collaboration, and play. Let's take them one at a time. We'll start with openness. What does that mean? Well, in some ways, it's about the way that we engage in research. Open social scholarship and public scholarship are very important in the digital humanities, not as so much a way of academia giving to the world, but more as how can academics and other persons in the same community work together to solve problems and seek knowledge. It also reflects on the tools. Often you'll see tools are open access and scholar driven in digital humanities. And what that means is it's freely available and that it's made by researchers, not by third-party companies that want to get money from you. And what you'll see in this class is everything you work with will be an open access tool. So there's openness as a value in the digital humanities. What about collaboration? What you find in this kind of discipline, because it's inherently interdisciplinary, what I mean by that is no single scholar can master any of the methods needed for a single successful project. So these tend to be collaborative working groups that go through project management cycles. So, for example, let's say I want to make a critical digital edition of a text. Let's say it's Beowulf, and we'll look at an example of that. I'll need a medievalist who knows Beowulf and Old English through and through. I'll need someone who can do text encoding to be a part of the project. I'll need web designers. I'll need someone who can do textual analysis, maybe code in R. And so there will be all these different people interacting with each other and talking about it and sharing their insights so they can make a better project in the end. So there's collaboration sense of a value of seeing like that's how research ought to be, but also collaboration in a very practical sense of we can't succeed in these projects if we don't have people who have different disciplinary methods. And finally, play. So this is called experimentation. Play can be seen as a very important aspect of when you apply computational methods to humanities questions. First, you need to see, well, what happens? There's a sense of experimentation. I'm going to take that method and apply it to a text I already know and see what happens, what patterns emerge. Then apply my knowledge of that text to it. And so we'll see that in this class in the sense that you'll be getting tools and you'll be able to play with them. You'll have low stakes assignments where you'll say, I have this question with this text. What happens when I apply this computational method to it? So throughout this class, we'll look at DH in those ways. How can digital tools be applied to humanities questions? How can humanities principles refine the way we use digital tools? And what values do we hold as researchers that are embedded in the way we approach research questions? Now we had kind of a little primer on this idea of DH. What I'd like to do next is look at the course structure itself and point out how you can come across your readings and your assignments and things like that. The course is open and most of the content is in place. I will be adding short videos throughout the term, but right now you can go to any week and see what you need to read and what assignment you need to do. What I'll do is every week I'll start with a short overview video just like this one, where I'll talk about what we're going to do for the week and give you some insights that'll help you get through the readings and understand them in context of DH overall. Then you'll have your readings. To find out where your readings are, look at any given week for read, watch, and listen. If you see that phrase, that means that's a required reading. This could be an article online. This can be a YouTube video. This can be a podcast. You'll have different kind of modes like that. Then, starting in week 3, I'll have a second video each week. That'll be a tool walkthrough video. That's because whenever there's a new tool I'm going to teach you how to learn and use, I'm not going to expect you just to start on your own and figure it out. No, I'm going to have a video for you each week where I show you how to use the tool and give you tips how to succeed on the assignment. Then after that, you'll have your assignments. They can be forums like the ones for the first week, then where you practice collaboration and collegiality, or they could be assignments where you work with a tool and then give me a deliverable from that tool. So those will be required aspects of it. Then there will be, if it says resource in there, that means that's for your own benefit at your own discretion, whether or not to use. Later on in weeks 2, I'll have something called a project showcase, where I'll take a project or two that's in DH that works with either the methods or the tools we're working on for that week. So you can see how others have answered certain questions or reacted to certain problems with digital humanities methods and tools. And then what I'll end with, we'll see in later ones, is this idea of a deeper dive. That will be a podcast that you are not required to listen to. It's an invitation for you to listen to it if it looks interesting to you. What I've done is every week, starting with week 2, there's a podcast that has to do with that theme or that project or even those thinkers. The idea there is, as remember I said, collaboration is important for DH. We can't all know every methodology. I suspect that by the end, when you get to your final project where you choose a tool that you will use to analyze a problem you care about and another tool to share your insights about that problem, that you will have found something in here that interests you. I suggest at that point to go back to that week, look at this deeper dive entry, and listen to that podcast. It's not required. I'm not checking up on you in any way whatsoever. It's an invitation where if you find something you care about, some of you will be thinking, I like mapping. Others of you be like, I want to teach in this area. Others of you think I want to work with textual analysis. Or maybe some of you will love podcasting. Whichever week really strikes with you, I suggest going to the deeper dive entry for that week and listening to it, because what I'm doing there is I'm bringing in contemporary pieces, things that have happened this year or maybe last year. Some of your readings are maybe from the time of 2005, 2016, when we were really deeply thinking about this and establishing some of our core practices. And when we were working with bringing novices in. And so some of our readings, if they're older, it's because they establish well a concept that is important for the discipline as a whole. If you want really up-to-date things, what are people talking about now? Some of your readings will have that, but every deeper dive podcast will have that. These are from usually 2020 or later. Ultimately, my goal for this course is to give you a survey of methods and tools used by digital humanists so that you can apply one of them to a problem you care about or to help a community that you care about. In the end, that's really the heart of research is I care about this problem or this affected community. Therefore, I will use my abilities with a different method or a tool to impact them in a beneficial way. As always, I'm here to help. I want you to succeed in the course. Feel free to always reach out to me, and I'm really looking forward to the term together.